So we're in an era right now where a lot of movies, a lot of big movies have been flopping. And surprisingly so. I went to go see most of these movies, like The Flash, for example. And I thought The Flash was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed that film. But it flopped. It flopped so hard that it's been removed from multiple movie theaters because of how poorly it performed at the box office. And that's kind of a startling thing to hear because for a long time, all of these comic book films made money for a very long time. They were all really successful. But now, not just The Flash, but Indiana Jones also flopped. Not as bad as The Flash, though. Several other films have flopped. I don't think there's ever been a time in recent memory that all these movies flopped. I'm going to do a video about this, probably a discussion to analyze what's going on because there's a couple theories I have. But what I want to discuss here on this video is a movie that I think is absolutely going to flop, and I thought it would by seeing the first trailer, and now I really think it will, and that's The Marvels. Now, I want to go into this firstly by saying that I am not one of those Brie Larson hate channels. Is Brie Larson cringe in interviews? Yes. Does Brie Larson behave sometimes like she has a stick up her ass? Yes. A lot of people hate her because of the stuff she says outside of movies, like the stuff the actress says. I've always been the type of guy, I don't give a shit about an actor's comments about whatever. This whole like boycott a movie thing is so stupid to me because I just want to be entertained. And she's only one part of the movie. Like there's other characters, other actors. I don't care about like boycotting a film or trying to crash a movie. I just want to be entertained. I go to the movies to be entertained. That's it. So I can watch Brie Larson in a movie, like for example, Fast and Furious 10, and not think about the dumb shit she says outside of the movie. It doesn't bother me. So this is not about that. I think The Marvels is gonna flop for a few different reasons. And I know some of y'all are thinking, well, duh, but it's not a well, duh situation. You have to get out of the bubble. Get out of the internet bubble for a minute and look at the mainstream. Captain Marvel, a movie that a lot of people hated, did $1 billion. Now, why did Captain Marvel do $1 billion? Well, first of all, the mainstream Marvel fans didn't give a shit about Brie Larson or any of that SJW crap. Mainstream casuals do not give a damn about any of this political SJW stuff that you see YouTubers complain about. They don't care. I'm telling you that because they don't care. Trust me on this one. That's how bad movies make money, bro, because they don't care. Secondly, it was the last movie before Endgame. And to me, that's a big deal because if you remember, Phase 3, the last 3-4 movies of Phase 3, you know, Infinity War, Ant-Man 2, Captain Marvel, Endgame, and even before that, Thor Ragnarok, like there was a lot of hype. That was the peak. Without question, that was the peak of the MCU's popularity. Every movie was a hit. And I think people went to go see Captain Marvel because of curiosity. They wanted to know how that character was going to factor into Endgame. And then when Endgame comes out, we find out she's only in the beginning and the end of the movie. She's not even in the middle part, so it's not really her movie. But that's why the movie did so much, because there was so much hype going into Endgame. Remember, that movie came out about, what, a month and a half before Endgame did? So it did very well. Now, with that being said, why do I think that The Marvels is going to flop? Well, first of all, there are better MCU movies now, like good MCU movies that are flopping. Guardians 3 was good, did not flop. And Spider-Verse is not really an MCU film, but it did very well. Ant-Man flopped, and a lot of it's because of the treatment of some of the characters. It does have problems. And the Thor Love and Thunder was very poorly received, and Doctor Strange was also kind of poorly received. Like the MCU's kind of been on the decline because ever since Black Widow, it's been very hit or miss. Like the peaks of the MCU are like No Way Home and I don't even know, dude. Like recently, No Way Home's probably the highest high that they hit. You know, even though I like some of the other projects and I like Loki season 1. But I think the issue with the Marvels is number one, We're not going into a big Avengers event yet, so it's not going to have that much hype behind it. Number two, we've seen a decrease in popularity of the MCU. A lot of folks don't want to accept this. I had a conversation back in 2019. It's on record on one of my podcasts. I think it was the KLB podcast, where I straight up was asking when this superhero movie bubble was going to pop, because there were way too many movies coming out. And then after phase 3, we got the Disney Plus shows, and then DC started putting stuff out. Then we had Invincibles and all these other superhero things, and it just felt like there was so much market saturation that at some point MCU projects were going to flop. And we've had stuff like She-Hulk and all that garbage, and it's like the popularity of the MCU is down. Like, we don't even have to guess. Like, we have actual data that, like, Secret Invasion, which has Ben Mendelsohn and Sam Jackson and is a compelling story, is getting low views on Disney Plus. People are starting not to care. And this is something that has to be addressed, because it's going to continue. And I think the Marvels is going to be along the lines of that, because Captain Marvel was never that popular. Miss Marvel, although people did like it because it was a cute story, it wasn't like beloved like Loki was. It wasn't like everybody was going nuts over it. In fact, most of the Disney Plus shows have been kind of mid, right? And people are just choosing not to waste their time with them. I think people want to know more about Kang, but I don't think we're going to get that till Loki season 2. So there's that. Not to mention that the trailer for the Marvels, the first trailer, the teaser, looks like absolute garbage. There's nothing in that trailer, nothing that I thought was interesting. It looks boring. The jokes were cringe. It looks like a bad straight-to-home video sci-fi movie. It really looks like that. It has that vibe going for it. Now, I like Monica Rambeau as a character, and I do like Kamala Khan, and the chick who plays her is kind of cute. Like, I have nothing against these people, right? But these characters, I don't think are strong enough characters to carry their own film. And for the record, it has nothing to do with them being women at all, because for a long time I thought Black Widow could have carried her own movie. The Black Widow film wound up not being that great, but of all of the women, she was the one that was the most popular, right, in the MCU. But then we've got stuff like WandaVision and Doctor Strange, where Wanda takes center stage, and I think she's fantastic, right? I think she's kind of, ever since Black Widow died, she's become like the new like top woman in the MCU as far as popularity goes, because of WandaVision and what happened in Doctor Strange. She's still an intriguing character. So, with that being said, it's not about the gender. It's not about anything political. It's just those three characters are not seen as being top characters. Thor, Spider-Man, Iron Man, even the Iron Family, like War Machine, characters like that, those are the ones that people really want to get invested in. Those are the ones that people are going to go to the movie theaters to see. Not this movie. The trailer looks like cringe. People saw Captain Marvel. It made a ton of money, but I talked to some casuals who said, you know what? I have no desire to watch it again. I'll just skip to Endgame. Even though it did well, it wasn't well received, like critically. Like, you know, not by the critics, but like from the fans. Like, it feels like a skippable movie. You understand that? It feels like you can skip the movie. So with the Marvels, with all these recent flops, if decent movies are flopping, what do you think is going to happen with a movie that has no buzz behind it? What do you think is going to happen with a movie that has left a bad taste in people's mouths? What do you say about a movie that's coming out later this year, and unlike how things used to be, I see nobody talking about it. Nobody's hyped for it. Even Captain Marvel fans aren't even hyped for it. You know, the MCU really has to maybe pivot a little bit here, because this movie could end up being a colossal flop. I mean, like, when I say colossal, I'm talking about like on the level of maybe even The Flash. And like as far as flop goes, because The Flash was a very emotional film and a very well-made film. It's got problems, but the story is good. And the characters are good. I mean, it's freaking Michael Keaton as Batman again. Every kid from the 90s and the late 80s are going to dig this. And yet it still didn't do well. So if you have Batman played by Michael Keaton not doing well, What do you think's gonna happen with this movie, dude? I know the movie's been shot, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, this movie shouldn't come out." Maybe they should consider putting it on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like what they did during the pandemic, because I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a bad idea. I don't know anything about Disney's business, so maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe it would still make money in movie theaters. I just feel like it's bad optics when your movies flop. And that one, to me, of all the upcoming movies, Deadpool 3 is probably not going to flop. Let's keep it real there. Thunderbolts, probably not going to flop. That one's got some buzz behind it. The Captain America 4, that one's got buzz behind it because it's a Captain America movie, and those have been historically consistently good. And obviously, the Avengers films are probably not going to flop either. So, what can you do with this? The movie's already been shot. You have to release it. Like, they're not just going to delete it like what they did with Batgirl, what DC did with Batgirl. So, still, I'm listing out all the reasons why I think it's going to flop. Not to mention that there's so much content coming out later this year that I feel like that movie it's a bad time, dude. Like, you can't be releasing mid movies during a time when, like, good movies are flopping. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people, I don't know if it's because people don't want to go to the movie theaters. I mean, I'll do a separate video about it, but I believe that the Marvels is going to flop hard. I mean, I think it's going to be probably the biggest failure in the MCU's history, in my opinion. I really feel that way. You know, and again, nothing to do with them being women or any of that political bullshit. I know some people in the comments are going to throw that around because they're fucking morons. No, it's because these characters, men or women, it doesn't matter. They don't have any hype behind them, man. And the trailer did nothing. That trailer did nothing to get me hyped up. The Captain Marvel trailer for the first movie was better, I thought. You know, there was intrigue there. Here, there's nothing. And I do believe people are burnt out on MCU. I think Marvel has burnt fans out. I think having this many Disney Plus shows and having this many movies a year has burnt people out. And they need to scale it back because people are really, really tired of it. I see this movie being a flop. If you disagree, in the comments, change my mind. I seriously want you to tell me why you think this movie's not going to flop. I'm curious because I don't know. I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know what they could even do to save this film. I don't know. If you know, let me know, and we'll talk about it. Take care.